Alrighty guys, I'm super excited to share with you this video. We have interviews from the top 5 A riders at the Grinding Stone Hard Enduro and a couple B class guys as well. Everybody that I talked to was super nice, had some great stories, and it was a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and talk to Tracon KIRK, your A class winner from the Grinding Stone Hard Enduro. I already heard from you that you're not sore because you rode so technically, but
yeah, but definitely my neck and shoulders were super sore. I don't know if it's just because so much, I don't know if the pushing the bike was different than I'm normally riding, but yeah, that was definitely sore.
I had it in the shoulders, not so much the neck, but the shoulders and then the glutes. I think it was from lifting your 450 up a few of those ledges.
Probably for sure. I'm used to the 450s, so.
yeah, that's one way to build strength. You don't need a gym membership after riding that thing. I've seen that you ride trials on Instagram, and we talked a little bit during the second lap. How long you been riding trials for, and what's that look like?
So when I was 25, I decided that I wanted to slow down a little bit and really refine my riding. And I've always wanted a trials bike, so I finally got the position where I found a good deal on one and started riding it. I did one trials event on it and then sold it and bought one that was like 10 years newer. So the very first year I did it, I got hooked, and I've been doing it for, this is my 8th year now. So yeah, just that's pretty much all I've been competing in. Moved up through the classes pretty quick. Try to do at least one national a year, whichever one's the closest to me. And that's kind of how I gauge if I'm getting better. I go and get my ass kicked by people that do it all the time.
Is it pretty wild seeing the top level pros there, or is it not that much of a gap between the kind of, like regional pros?
It's pretty much like the Hard Enduro, where the first national I went to, Cody Webb was riding a Montesa, and he was like one of the top pros, and I was in the expert class, and I was the bottom of the expert class. So it's a huge jump. They're doing stuff that looks impossible.
Damn, that's badass. Those guys are wild. What was your favorite part of the track? Which section got you the most excited out there?
So the most fun I had was they took you all the way down to like where you could see the lake, and it started winding around all the slick rock, and you'd go up and half to 90 on a shelf and come back and then go like up through a crack, and that type of stuff I liked because it was kind of like a trial section.
Kind of the smooth sandstone where you're kind of weaving your way through.
Yeah, and it was kind of flowy. There was one section where you had to do like 2 wall rides and then shoot up a ledge, and that was super sweet.
They did a really good job with the course layout, kept it really challenging and interesting and just neat lines.
Yeah, and I thought it was good that it constantly progressed and got harder and harder. Was good too.
Did you feel that big old heavy 450X held you back, or did it only hold people back behind you that were lifting it up some obstacles for you?
I was trying to just wear out the competition when they had to help me. No, I feel like overall, besides the weight, it does really good. It makes a lot of torque real down low. So it has like a really low stall point, so you can actually like lug it really, really well. And there's more weight on the rear tire to help get traction. So,
will we be seeing you at any future races?
Probably not any this year, just because I kind of have a full schedule with trials and then still got the family life and everything else. But if they're going to do Page every year, I would definitely do that every year to kind of gauge my skill and see if I'm getting better or whatever. Go get punished for a day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to have to keep looking at your Instagram, and I'll expect some trials updates. That seems bitchin'.
Yeah, they're always on there, so.
That was great talking to Tracon. It's abundantly clear now why he is so good at Hard Enduro, especially in this event. His technical trials riding and background in sandstone and that kind of terrain was very apparent on the track. He looked comfortable, he looked composed, and he saved a lot of energy where a lot of other people, including myself, were probably struggling. So Tracon, excellent ride to you. I really am going to continue looking at your Instagram because those trials clips are absolutely insane. If you want to go ahead and follow Tracon on Instagram, I'll leave a link in the description below. Also, there will be a card right here to his video of the GoPro footage for lap 1 of the Grinding Stone Hard Enduro. Alright guys, let's go ahead and jump in and talk to Joe NEMETH, 3rd place at the Grinding Stone Hard Enduro. He put on a great ride. And I think on the first lap, we went back and forth a little bit and even helped each other a couple spots.
So you passed me I forget the name of it. It's the one before question mark. It was like a steep sand hill, and then like the second part was like a kind of a step at the top, and you ghost rode your bike past me.
I actually caught that on GoPro, and turned out pretty good. It was quite the ghost ride, huh?
I was like, I actually saw that today. Hey, that's where he passed me. Right there is where he ghost rode his bike past me.
So you started off with the GNCCs then. How did you like get into the hard enduro? What was the first kicker that got you towards it?
So I moved straight from Cleveland to Moab. Like everyone that comes to Moab is always like that's what everybody's talking about. It's like the hardest stuff. Like let's do the hardest stuff, and like just like stem from that. And then in 2020, I bought my first 2-stroke. Yeah,
that's a big change from those 4-strokes, huh?
Yeah. So once I got onto a 300, I was like, okay,
game on.
We can go this direction.
You think you were pretty well prepared? I know I felt a little awkward on the Red Rock for sure.
And like coming into the race, I knew like there was a couple people asking me like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? You know, it's going to be like all this stuff. And I was like, you know, it's going to be sketchy because there's so much traction that the only way to make it hard is to make it sketchy.
What do you think the hardest part of the track was?
There was parts like the first time I looked at Wells Falls like in person because we had seen the videos online, you know, and I was like, that looks doable on film. And then I get there and I looked at it, I was like, geez, man, like this is gonna be hard. I mean, I guess it was the question mark. It had to be question mark because we helped each other up that section that first lap. I got there at like 4:10, so I had 20 minutes left to make 2 laps. I like looked at the line of traffic of it, and then I looked at the spot where everybody else, all the pros were going up. You know, maybe if I was fresh. The whole time, the whole race, I was like, I'm gonna make 2 laps. Like I'm gonna make 2 laps. Like I knew I was gonna do it, and then I didn't try it. I ended my race there. That's right. I just rode back bits from there.
That line up to the left was just insane. And when you start watching all the pros slide their bikes back down, it doesn't give you much confidence. Like,
yeah, for sure. No, it was intimidating.
Were there any points like out there that you were like, I want to quit. This is done. I'm like, this is bullshit.
The whole point for me is to like be like stressed out and like trying to overcome stuff. So like the good feeling of making it through something that's difficult for you. It seems as though in hard enduro, it's different in other types of racing where like the A riders are the next to go into pro. There's nothing in between us and pro, even though there is like an enormous difference between the top 5 and us. You know, if you think about any of the other off-road racing, it's like C, B, A, pro. Like, and the A guys are all like hungry to get into the pro class and like show what they got. But it seems like here it's kind of like people don't see the A riders going into pro.
Yeah, it is interesting like that. There's not much support for the A rider.
Everyone's just like, dude, Cody is like better than anybody that's ever gonna race dirt bikes, and it's like, yeah, he's like super gnarly. Those guys are crazy good. A riders gotta step up and step their game up and get up there in the pro class and start getting some stuff done. It seems like this community around hard enduro is better than any of the other ones. Everyone's like super on board with it, and I'm just looking forward to trying to get a little bit better and see everybody at the races.
Wow, great talking to Joe. I actually went back and forth with him quite a bit in the first lap, so it was great putting a face to a rider that I had spent a bunch of time on the track with. Man, that ghost ride right by him was insane. A little bit more than I bargained for on that one, but got the job done. Joe had some great insight. Let's go ahead and jump in and talk to Jared LAMBE, A-Class, 4th place.
Well, I'm originally from England, but right now I'm living in Utah.
I'm curious then, like how does riding in the U.S. compare to riding in England? Is it a lot different?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. I actually didn't do hard enduro in England. A lot different. I would say the biggest difference is just like the amount of events that occur. Like in England, there's so many more opportunities to race and compete. Literally like every weekend you could find somewhere to go race or do a trial or like an enduro or motocross race. And I'm talking within like an hour or two, not like 18 hours like like some of the races here. The races here are unreal, but it's just crazy how much traveling there is. Like they're all so spread out.
The grinding stone was probably pretty close for you though, huh?
Yeah, I think that's probably the closest one, to be honest. For me, it was like just under 6 hours. It seems like close compared to a lot of the other ones. Like back home, that would be like unheard of, like to drive 6 hours to do a race.
6 hours, you'd probably be out of the country, right?
Yeah, you'd be like in France by then.
That's pretty wild. I noticed you ride trials in the winters back there. Did you compete in trials and all that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I rode for maybe like 5 or 6 years. I competed, and mainly, like I said, over the winter time we would do it.
Well, that's a good mix then. You got a lot of high speed stuff with the motocross and then slow speed technical with the trials.
Yeah, and that's why I love hard enduro, because it's a mixture of the two. Like I love all the trialsy stuff, but then it's, you get to go fast too, and that's fun as well. So
I guess talking about the grinding stone a little bit more, how'd you like the track? What was your favorite part of it?
Yeah, man, the track was awesome. It was pretty wild, eh? Like it was, I was expecting it to be pretty wild, and I knew, the sandstone is known to have a lot of traction. And so when it was leading up to the race, I was like, I'm guaranteed that they're going to put some like gnarly stuff in there to make it difficult. And then that's exactly what happened. Like I wouldn't say it was like super technical. It was just like a lot of like consequence type lines where if like you don't like, you want to make it, and if you don't, you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were talking about that. Just like the fear factor on a lot of the lines was the biggest part, just the mental battle.
Like when I first got there, I was like, I would see stuff and I'd be like, man, there's no way like you could hit that, but then you do it and it'd be like fairly easy. And so just kind of getting over that like mental barrier, I guess. Honestly, the biggest challenge for me was like a lot of the bottlenecks, figuring out how to navigate those, especially in that first lap. But yeah, it was definitely tough, like mentally and then physically. I was pretty spent by the end for sure.
You mentioned the bottlenecks. Which one gave you the most trouble? Was it that kind of as you came up onto the mesa and then right onto that first one?
Yeah, on the first lap. So that one messed me up quite a bit. So when I got there, I got a pretty good start, and then we got there, and I think there was already like 5 or 6 guys, or maybe more than that, trying to get up that step. There was a guy, and then everyone kind of started funneling in. And so there's a few guys that went through, and then there was like a couple guys that got stuck. And so I was kind of just waiting my turn. And I think someone over on the left side like cut through the tape. And then after that, like the floodgates just opened, like people were just rushing over on that left side.
I don't know. I think he was just a little bit off to my left. He just screamed like, "Oh, fuck." And then like floodgates opened and people started scooting right and left. And then I was just sitting there like, ah, and then I ended up going around to the right. Did you end up going up the step or left or?
Yeah, so I got up the step, and I didn't get up it clean. I didn't really have a run, so I got like up onto the first one and kind of had to push through. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that bit was just tricky because once I got through, like we got to the next section, there's already like, must have been like 30 guys on it, like when I got there. And I just kind of sat there for a minute. I was like, man, like I didn't even know how to go about it. So yeah, those are probably like the hardest too. Because after that, I feel like everyone kind of spread out a bit.
Getting through those bottlenecks is like a real tricky part of like learning how to race these races. At least I've thought like you can be too nice and help too many people. You can be like not nice enough and then you don't get your help up the hill. Like, oh man, it just goes every which way.
Yeah, I know that was like me too. It's a constant battle. Like you want to be nice and help people, and then also you're in situations where you need help too. But yeah, it's like where do you draw that? It's kind of a fine line between you don't want to just be pulling people up the trail all day.
It's so weird because like you kind of need help to finish, and if you want to finish fast, you're gonna want to like team up on a few spots. But then like if you end up pulling one guy up and then maybe you grab the next tire and you pull him up, all of a sudden you're 6 bikes deep and your bike's still at the bottom of the hill and you're like, everybody else is gone.
Exactly.
So are you running the full series this year?
Yeah, that's the plan. So I'm planning to be at all the West ones at least. I'll be at all those, and then.
Which race are you most excited for this next year?
I've heard a lot of good things about the Idaho race, Texas as well. I'm actually super stoked about Texas in a couple of weeks. Oh, this will be my first time doing it, but it's kind of one of those ones that I've been following for like the last few years, and just the terrain looks awesome, and I love the format too.
So you're actually excited for the multi-race format. Some people are a little like not excited.
Yeah, I do have mixed feelings as well. Like, but yeah, I'm excited for the Texas one too. I like the a lot of opportunities to race instead of just having kind of one shot. I think is cool as well.
Jared, the next Billy Bolt. As soon as I heard that accent, I figured that he was from Britain, and he just reminds me of Billy. It's hilarious. Jared was an absolute monster on the track. Looking back at lap times, he had a pretty slow first couple checkpoints because he got stuck in those bottlenecks, but he absolutely put on a monstrous push and ended up catching me right at Pipeline. Big props to Jared. I can tell that he rides trials from his Instagram clips. He is very technical. Let's have a chat with Matt Spears, who is Hard Enduro Idaho on Instagram. He's got quite a few followers. I think he's like at 86,000 on Instagram. So you might have heard of him already. I'm curious, like, how did you get into Hard Enduro? What?
I started riding a few years ago. Well, not a few anymore. Freshman year in high school, and I graduated last year. So that makes it. I started riding about 4 years ago, and I was on a YZ250F with a Recluse. That thing was it was terrible in the woods. And believe it or not, Colton Haker moved in next door to me in Idaho. So then I kind of started watching his stuff and seeing what he was doing. I emulated it a bit. And then that was my entry into Hard Enduro.
No way. So he moved in right next door.
Yeah, like 2 doors down.
Oh, that's badass. I knew he moved to Idaho, but wow, what a coincidence, huh?
I know. It's pretty wild.
So how long then from when you met Colton to when you got into the whole YouTube game and all that?
So it must have been, I'd probably been riding for about, because I've been on Instagram doing the whole Instagram thing and kind of dabbling in YouTube for about 2 years. Yeah. So yeah, I've been riding for 2 years since
You've been riding for 2 years and you're already finishing top 5 in an A class in the Hard Enduros.
No. I've been riding for 4 now.
Okay, well, still 4 years. That's not long either.
Yeah.
That's badass.
No, it's fun. Last year I was able to get a lot of hours on the bike because of COVID and school. It got canceled, so I just worked and rode dirt bikes.
And then I'm curious too. Are you going to be coming to all those Hard Enduros on the west?
Yeah. So I'll be doing. I mean, I'm not really doing them. The plan wasn't really to race every single race, but it just so happens in the company I work for, Inside Enduro, we sponsored the series. So yeah, I'll be there with Inside Enduro, and if I choose to race, I can race, and I've chose to race, so I'm going to race.
Speaking of riding the train the day before, I mean, we got to talk a little bit about your predicament that you got stuck in on the day before.
Oh, dude.
Just for a second.
And so I was just sitting at the bottom of that hill, and this guy, he like slid his bike out, and he was about to tumble his bike down. So I was like, oh shoot, I better go help him. Well, I went up there and lost control, and I ended up above that ledge trying to help someone, and then ultimately I ended up needing help from everyone.
That was a gnarly spot, and I think I just remember sitting down like way down in the bowl, and I saw your bike up there, and I was like, that looks pretty bad. And then somebody was like, you gotta get up there. Yeah. The closer you got, the scarier it got. And I didn't even want to get near your bike. It was like death defying.
Yeah, that was way too shenanigans.
There must have been like 25 guys like on the back of that rope just pulling you out. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So
the rope gets them. So you said you got second place. So that's sick. So you must have. So I guess they scored it from the third checkpoint, which I thought that was a bit weird. But so you must have come through there before me.
Yeah. So they were scoring it based on the lap. Yeah, checkpoint 3 on lap 2 because I don't think anybody made it to the finish. Correct?
Yeah, I finished, but not in the time limit.
Yeah,
I missed
exactly.
I missed it by 3 minutes.
Oh, it's so close, dude.
Oh,
that's rough.
Yeah, I remember. Dude, I pushed so hard that second lap.
Oh, I know you did, because I remember I was sitting there at the bottom of question mark, and I saw you and who was on the Husky right behind you?
Place.
Yeah, that was Jared LAMBE, I think.
Yeah, he's from the UK, right?
Yeah, I talked to him the other day.
Stud of a rider.
Super nice guy too, very very cool guy.
Yeah.
So I saw you guys pass me on question mark hill, and you guys got me amped up to try and go for the finish.
Sweet.
And then I ended up like 10 minutes off the finish or something like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So a little goofy scoring. Props to you though for making it. You made it the furthest on the course, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah, probably doing this. This is sweet.
Yeah, I just really wanted to throw together some like the regular people's perspectives on these races and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, one more question. Where
Of course.
where am I going to be able to find this, or where are other people going to be able to find it?
Absolutely. My YouTube channel is Devin Finero. That's just my name.
Okay.
And then the series name is Amateur versus Hard Enduro. So you can look up either of those things. And
Amateur versus Hard Enduro.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, good to know.
So it was great hearing from Matt. Crazy to hear that he's only been riding for 4 years. Absolutely killing it. Go ahead and follow Hard Enduro Idaho on Instagram if you haven't already. He's got some really cool content, a lot of fun wheelies and hill climbs and stuff like that. So that wraps up our interviews from the A class for the Grinding Stone Hard Enduro, but don't leave yet. We have more from the B class. 2 quick interviews from Single Tracked on Instagram, another guy with a lot of Instagram followers who finished 6th in the B class, right behind Bryce Barsnick, my buddy, and fellow Amateur versus Hard Enduro presenter, and Dom, one of our friends that we've ridden in Idaho. We really want to share different perspectives on these races, apart from just the fastest people. So we wanted to talk to some people in the B class, not just at the front of the B class. First, we got Bryce Barsnick and Mitch Johnson's conversation about the Grinding Stone Hard Enduro. If you don't know Mitch yet, he's Single Tracked on Instagram. Go ahead and give him a follow as well.
So that's what I was excited for with Paige as well. However, when I showed up to Paige, it was immediate. It was immediate intimidation. I really liked the terrain. It was interesting. Like you've heard other riders say, super high consequence. I think that's what got in my head. You could see all the features on the course, but you hadn't ridden any of them. So you're just sitting there thinking of all these features that you've been hiking the last couple of days. And you know that some things, once you're on your bike, they're going to be less gnarly than you thought. And then there's going to be other areas that are twice as gnarly as you thought.
Tons of traction, and it was still a bit different. And some of the sandstone, it even like kind of, as people rode on it, it like degraded a bit and made it kind of like slippery actually, because there was like loose little pieces of like sand now. But yeah,
made the event super fun though, to be able to mix and mingle out riding. Just show up to a dune that 5 other guys are hanging out on and saying, "Hey, what's up? Where are you guys from?" And everybody's in awe of the terrain and what they're seeing. So it made for a cool experience. You know, usually I've done some hare scrambles in the past, and usually it's, you start your bike until it's warm a couple times, ride around the pits 5 miles an hour, and you know what I mean? Hopefully you feel good at the start. But this was pretty fun to be able to get a feel for the terrain. The bottleneck that happened at Hoodoo Hill, basically a bunch of loose terrain. In my opinion, not one of the harder areas of the course. I felt like it was navigatable, and I think it just got piled up, and everybody just thought, you know, drop your clutch and try to go uphill. You know, it seems like everybody forgot what they were doing. Traction didn't matter anymore, and it was just sand flying everywhere and rocks, and clutches were dropped, and there was no grunting up it. It was just spinning and putting weight on the tire and hoping that you were making it up. And I would rip to the next section, and there might be like a mini bottleneck, but it was more manageable, or it was flowing through, where for a while I was just sitting at a standstill, just wanting nothing more than to be racing, but I was just sitting there. And hindsight's 2020, you know, I see videos of other people coming up to bottlenecks, and they just send random lines, and, you know, they're racing. So they're not being jerks, but they're not being like polite. And they're just, you know, they're being plenty polite. If they were to hit you or cause an issue for you, I'm sure you'd hear them be like, "Oh, sorry, man." But hindsight, I wish I would have just gone back out of the pile, found a clear line, and just sent it up, and then navigated my way through.
You could.
Rather than thinking like, well, he was technically here before me and he's edging his tire. That probably the right thing to do is to let him. And now I'm like, no, I drove a long ways, and I don't want to sit here any longer than than I have to.
No. It's hard with the bottlenecks.
And I think that's the more that I learned, the more I realized that's the amateur experience. In that section, there was a C-class rider that kind of ripped this weird line and just kind of edged his way in. And somebody was like, that's what makes him good. You know, that's why he wins the C-class, is because he finds a way.
Yeah.
And I should have clued in then, but I think with especially pros and A, it's speed. Like, you just better be fast and getting obstacles first try as much as you can. But B and C might be a little bit, you're going to go as fast as you can, but what might make the biggest difference is, can I get creative and can I move around this line? Is there other ways that I can get through this? And I think that that's a big differentiator for some of the people. I was surprised. I did a lot of trade work that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, I'll help you, you help me. And
yeah, man, you'll never forget helping somebody and then getting left there. I'll tell you that much.
That happened to me at the bottleneck. There was this person, and I get off my bike and I help him up quite a bit and till the top basically. And then even if I didn't need the help, he was exhausted, which is fair enough. It's exhausting. And he bent over his bike, and I'm like, we made a deal. Yeah, he was like not even acknowledging me. He was just in survival mode, which is fair enough. But yeah, I was like, geez, now you not only are not helping me, but you're in my line, like you're in my path. And then right when I got to the rock, I heard the big boys coming, and I was like, all right, I've seen some other people get passed by the pros, so I know that they're going to take that high line on the sandstone on the right.
Yep.
So I just kind of sat there on the rock, and they all just railed up the sand, did a wall ride next to me. It was awesome. It's awesome to ride alongside pros. I think that's one of the coolest thing about this series is them passing you at some point. Yep. And you're hooting and hollering for them. You're trying to chase them down for as long as you can before their dust trail disappears. And and it's a fun environment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's one of the coolest things is you're riding the pro course,
Cool to see so many different age groups, so many different styles, so many different bikes, so many different, just so many different people that were all able to make it to the same spot, had all been through the same stuff as you were. You're all exhausted. It was fun.
Great hearing from Mitch. That was really interesting for me since I wasn't a part of the interview. I just got to kind of edit through it and find out some good clips. Mitch, I haven't met you yet, but I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Rev Limiter if you're going to be there. All right, now we're going to go ahead and talk to Dom. He finished 23rd in the B class. Dom's a great guy. We met him in Idaho, and we got to ride with him for a couple days up in Idaho. He welcomed us into his house, stand-up guy, and we got to ride some awesome stuff with him. And this is really the idea. We want to share different perspectives, not just the fastest guys. So let's go ahead and hear how Dom liked the race.
But Arizona was a different type of hard, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you're used to all the Idaho terrain. This must have been super different. Have you ever ridden anything close to that?
And some mud, but man, was I ready for the sand and the stone? No, not really, but probably in it for the same reason, to have fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. So
I think my favorite part was probably how it was rider help rider throughout the entire thing. It wasn't just full balls to the wall going at it. It was more of a, okay, how do we do this? Sit back, relax, watch the lines, and go from there. Oh man, I once I did slip and slide and got to the first bottleneck, I just sat there and watched. And I waited and waited and waited. I could not figure out what the best line was. I wanted to go left like everyone else, and then I was like, You have the people in front of you that are just spinning their tire, and you're just getting roosted with sand, and that's no fun. So I kind of just figured, let's.
Yeah, no, I definitely got sand and like just about everywhere you can get sand. Like it was literally over. I mean, it was crazy too because I first rolled up, like there were big rocks just getting flung out, and I mean, I started spinning. I just put my head down because like, I mean, you touch one of those to the chest or something. I mean, that would hurt pretty bad.
Being at the bottom of the hill, and you could hear the rocks hitting people's helmets and stuff, and it was just, okay, I'm gonna wait. I don't want that to go on with me. Like, I watched that video of Colton Haker going up it, and he lost his headlight and everything else, and it was crazy watching that and thinking, man, I could have made it to that, and these people are struggling.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would have done, how I would have gotten up that tight single track and woods riding, and going up to just wide open desert it was a change, and I liked it. I don't want to stick to just one thing. I want to be able to do it all. And that gave me that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. You guys made a long haul. How was the drive back home?
So that wraps up all our interviews for this time. I really liked the format of this, and it was a lot of fun to shoot and talk to everybody. It was an absolute nightmare to edit. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of footage. I hope you guys like this. I'm thinking about switching up the format next time to do in-person interviews and throw in a little bit more of a story. So we'll see how that goes. It should be a lot of fun. Go ahead and subscribe. That way you can see my rev limiter video. Rev limiter tips and tricks dropping Monday or Tuesday. If you see me or Bryce out on the track or in the pits, come say hi. We don't bite. We'd be excited to talk to you and share a little bit of your perspective on these races. We're looking for all different classes, all different speeds, all different kind of people, and we'd love to share your perspective. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and then we'll see you at the races. All right, have a good one.